Darren Waller traded to the New York Giants. Darren Waller traded to the New York Giants for a draft selection that was acquired through the Kadarius Toney trade. So as Adam Schefter reported and Ian Rappaport, whoever reported it, this is like essentially Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller at the end of the day, even though Kadarius Toney's not involved in this trade. But Darren Waller's been traded to the New York Giants. The Raiders doing yet again another questionable move, making questionable moves this entire offseason so far. Jimmy G can't throw to tight ends anyway. George Kittle was non-existent when Jimmy G was under center. George Kittle couldn't break off a route for the life of him after a block because Jimmy G is either sacked or using his first read. Jimmy G can't use tight ends. So in a sense, it makes sense why they do it, but this is more of a double stamp on a triple stamp as to why Jimmy G's not the answer. You just got rid of one of your best weapons, and you're in one of the toughest divisions. You're going to have to, beat the Broncos, beat the Chiefs, beat the Chargers, now without another weapon, without Darren Waller? Another questionable move by this Las Vegas Raiders team, which is going to be hard-pressed to win 5 or 6 games in 2023. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
It just keeps getting better and better. This offseason's been fire so far. And this Darren Waller trade to the New York Giants is a darn good move for Darren Waller because he was trapped in an abyss, in a black hole in Las Vegas where he wasn't going to be utilized because Jimmy G can't throw to tight ends at all. So the Raiders are just, even though the move in general for Jimmy G makes it to where they can't use him, trading away Darren Waller is also not the answer. There is no answer. The Raiders are going to spiral out of control and be at best I don't know. I said 7-8, maybe 9, but 7-8 win team before this. Now we're looking at a 5-6-7 win team. This is a disaster. Las Vegas is going to crumble and fall apart. They got rid of Derek Carr. They got rid of Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they trade away Darren Waller. This team is it's a turmoil-like situation. This is a disaster and unraveling before our very eyes. Davante will crumble next. Davante's going to have a really rough year this year, comparatively to what he just had under the command of Derek Carr. Derek Carr fed Davante Adams 100+ receptions, 1,600 yards, and 14 touchdowns. That ain't happening in this regime led by Jimmy Garoppolo, who can't throw the football more than 10, 15 yards down the field. And I don't want to hear Smitty, he's a winner. He's not a winner. Winning is a team stat. And tight ends aren't used in Jimmy's system. So, yeah, what good was Waller anyway? But just a disaster, one after the other. Haji dropping a $20 hauler on the show. Making it rain. Appreciate you, Haji. You are the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for the super chat. We'll be going over the Aaron Rodgers stuff. I've got this all prepared. That's my prepared screen. Hopefully, we're showing this very soon. Aaron Rodgers traded. He hasn't been traded yet. That's my preparation screen, because this is happening today. As soon as that happens, we're going live on that. So you weren't supposed to see that. That was behind the hidden curtain. $20 hauler from Haji, Smitty, and Waller to the moon. I'm hyped. Yeah, look, Waller, this is the best thing that could have happened for Waller. Waller was trapped in an abyss. An actual unraveling was going to take place for every single person on that roster. Waller, Davante Adams, everybody was going to fall apart. Josh Jacobs, this is a horrible situation. Good for Waller. Super excited for Waller. Danny Dimes, good for Danny Dimes. Good for Dable, good for the Giants. Waller, I mean, it's a great addition for Danny Dimes. That's fantastic. As for this trade, it was the number 100 overall pick that ended up going to the here's the screen again. Rodgers has not been traded. I keep showing that screen. This is my prep screen for when Aaron Rodgers is traded. Please do not look at that. Close your eyes. Put your earmuffs on. Close your eyes. Put your blindfold on. You weren't supposed to see that screen. Maybe I have the script. Maybe the reason I have the Aaron Rodgers has been traded is because I've got the script already and I know that it's already happened. But that screen is waiting to be shown. Okay, so hang tight on that. He has not been traded yet. Dalton Schultz set to become a free agent tomorrow. Dalton Schultz, this guy right here, Dalton Schultz, might become one of the more big-time sleeper bounce-back candidates, if you will, because he was disappointing for a big half of the season. He came on strong at the end. But Dalton Schultz, prediction, Bengals. Dalton Schultz to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a little prediction I have. Bengals or Bills, but I think Dalton Schultz in Cincinnati would be a huge move for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengal team. So look for that. But Schultz will become a hot topic tomorrow. Thank you, Hob G, for the super chat. Again, Darren Waller traded for the number 100 overall pick to the Raiders. Now the Raiders need to fill a lot of holes, granted, but you're creating one big hole in your boat, and then you're trying to fill another hole. All you're doing is moving around the hole. You take Darren Waller out of this lineup and draft a rookie tight end. It's going to take him a year or two to develop. No tight ends are developing their first year in the NFL. Kyle Pitts is the most successful rookie tight end season we've ever seen. Shockey. There are a very few amount of rookie tight end performances their rookie season that are worth noting. This is absolutely disastrous for the Raiders. Giants land their tight end, blockbuster trade. Giants are finalizing the trade. It is the 100 overall pick, which again was the Kadarius Toney trade. Remember, so in a sense, Kadarius Toney finally, as somebody said on NFL Network, finally helping out the Giants. Kadarius is not involved in this trade. It was the Kadarius Toney pick that was acquired. That one was used by the Giants to get Darren Waller. So essentially, from point A to point C, it was Kadarius to get Waller. That was a good move. Kadarius Toney is going to have a good year in Kansas City. We all kind of hope at least. But this Darren Waller trade is crazy, fantasy implications. Let's open the phone lines if you guys want to dial in and discuss Darren Waller. Talk about what his impact could be in 2023, how this depletes the Las Vegas Raiders even more. The phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
I got to stop showing that other screen that I've got prepped for the Aaron Rodgers news. But yeah, so we got so much. I mean, if you missed anything that we're talking about earlier, about Aaron Rodgers, about Lazard, about Randall Cobb, about all of the requests, Odell Beckham Jr., the request that Aaron Rodgers has for going to New York, what his wish list is. He's already sent a wish list over. If you want any of that information, we just talked about that on the other live stream, so go watch that other live stream. We're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers' decision. I've got the screen. I've already shown it too many times. I've got the screen prepared for when that happens, so we can just go live immediately. I do believe we're waiting hours at most before Aaron Rodgers' news breaks that he's going to the New York Jets, and that is all put in motion. So hang tight for that. But Dable and Waller, Jack says stocks are going up. Yeah, the Dable stock. I'm buying some Dable shares right now. I'm invested in this Dable character that keeps doing a Dable type things in New York. Took Danny Dimes and turned him into a prince, man. And gave him a big fat extension. I don't agree with the money or that he should have been extended signed to a new deal, not extended. Signed to a new deal that guarantees him, I think, $94 million guaranteed. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that move, but who are we to judge Dable, who's been doing a fantastic job, and bringing in Darren Waller? Like, what's next? Jackson Smith and Jigba? What's next? Quentin Johnston? I mean, if Quentin Johnston goes to the Giants, let's say, or the Giants make some sort of like trade up and get Jackson Smith and Jigba, or they get Zay Flowers, or they get even Jordan Addison. If they get one of the top 4 wide receivers somehow, in addition to Waller, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, the Giants, this is a potential deep playoff team. Not just a make the playoffs type of team. This is a potential deep playoff team. This is pretty awesome. This is a pretty good move, and it saves and salvages the value of Darren Waller like I can't describe. Like you have no idea what Darren Waller was about to endure in Las Vegas, that pit, that unraveling, horrible situation that's going to be so much worse under the reign of Jimmy G than it was under the reign of Derek Carr. Good thing Carr got out of there. Good thing, good for Carr. Derek Carr to the moon. Truly.
To the moon.
I'm rooting for Derek Carr, and I'm so glad Derek Carr got his keister out of Las Vegas, where he was going to wither away like everyone else there. Poor Josh Jacobs. I truly feel bad for Josh Jacobs, because Josh Jacobs is literally just going to waste away there. And this guy that's supposed to have this big fat contract coming off the career year he had, leading the NFL in rushing, is supposed to hit free agency. Said that he'd only want to be tagged if the Raiders were reloading. This is the Raiders' idea of reloading, taking away ammunition in Darren Waller, replacing one weapon. Sorry, the phone lines are open. I saw you calling again. Replacing one weapon. One weapon. Is that Habji? Habji, calling again, pal. I'm sorry about that. Replacing one weapon, Derek Carr, with somebody that's not even considered a weapon in Jimmy G. He's a liability. He won't be able to facilitate the football to Davante Adams, who catches the ball downfield. Does anybody understand Davante Adams makes a living catching a deep ball? Does anybody understand that Jimmy G can't throw a deep ball? The Bruce dialing it. Hob G, dial it again, bro. I'm sorry I missed your call. Bruce, what's up, Brucey?
Hey, Smitty. I have a question.
Yeah.
So since they replaced Waller, and in my mind with Jacoby Myers, even though they play different positions, how does this affect Myers fantasy-wise?
Oh, poor Brucey. Brucey, I know you like Jimmy G, so I know that my rant. I commend you for putting up with my Jimmy G rants when you are a Jimmy G supporter. You're a stand-up guy, Brucey. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Look, Renfro, Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, it doesn't matter how many wide receivers you put on this roster. Like, Jimmy G can only focus on one of them. And when he focuses on one of them, it's going to be very short yardage, very short passes. This guy's a first read guy. Why is he a first read guy? Not because he's great at getting rid of the football. It's because he's petrified of getting sacked. He has no escape mechanism. He can't run for anything. He's very injury prone. He doesn't want to get hit. And so when you're Jimmy G, why? Let me explain something. Why is Kittle enabled again? Why is Kittle now looking like an electric talent yet again in the NFL? Because he has a quarterback, or had a quarterback in Purdy, that could extend a play long enough that Kittle could block and break off a block and run a route. Jimmy G would literally get rid of the football to his first read, which was always Deebo Samuel, before Kittle was even done with his block. Kittle couldn't even run a route. Kittle wasn't even able to run a delayed route, some sort of block, and then break off and run some sort of like 7 and out. He wasn't able to do anything. Kittle was not even able to get 2-3 yards down the field before the play was already either in Deebo Samuel's hands or dead. And so when you look at someone like Jacoby Myers and Renfro and Adams, these guys won't be going downfield to receive the football from Jimmy G. It will be short yardage stuff. And Davante Adams, unfortunately, the offense will be dialed back a whole lot. Derek Carr, you can make fun of Derek Carr all you want. Wins, he didn't win there, he failed, whatever. Derek Carr produced stats. And Derek Carr could only produce so many stats. Granted, Derek Carr was not a top 10 quarterback in Las Vegas, but no one's gonna be, because this defense is horrible. This offense, they had to lean on the run. They did very well on the run with Josh Jacobs. But this is going to be a whole different ballgame now. Jimmy G won't command the respect of defenses. There'll be a lot of 8-man fronts to contain and shut down Josh Jacobs in the run. And Davante Adams won't be downfield stretching the ball, the field. The defense won't be scared of that. Like, Davante Adams won't be utilized in his skill set. His skill set and his game is stretching a defense, making huge, monstrous plays. Jimmy G won't be able to utilize Davante Adams' skill set. And this is going to be a debacle This is going to be an absolute debacle, and I don't think Josh Jacobs is having a good year. I think, unfortunately for Jacobs, he's going to exit 2023 injured because he's going to be getting smashed at the line of scrimmage unfairly, or he's going to have such a bad year that he's not getting his contract that he could have got coming out of this year. It's unfortunate for him. Good thing he's getting paid handsomely at $10 million for his franchise tag. Yeah. But this is going to be a debacle, Brucey. I'm sorry, especially in that division where you play the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos twice. There's no shot. The Raiders have no shot. Why they're even attempting to do this instead of doing like a full rebuild is beyond me. Why they wouldn't trade Davante Adams away is beyond me. The fact that you wouldn't just start rebuilding right now is beyond me. You have zero shot. Not 1%, 2%, 3%. The Raiders have zero shot at winning the division, and they have almost 0% chance of making the playoffs. It was rebuild mode. Like, why you wouldn't trade Adams away? Adams also put on his Instagram stories a message last night that he walked back. He walked this message back a little bit. Let me see if I can put the original message on screen. It said, if we haven't talked in the last 3 weeks, don't hit me up about this shiat. Thanks. Which we believe, and I think we got confirmation that this was in reference to the team potentially reaching out to him, and the team reaching out to him in regards to letting him know what was going on. Like, hey, we want to tell you what's up, what's been going on. That's what we were pretty sure took place. And then Adams went ahead and restated what was going on. Let me put this on screen here. This is Adams's response today when he had time to cool down. He took that story post down, by the way. He took it down. He's probably talked to, hey, take that down. And Davante Adams then put this up on Twitter. Don't make too much of it. Phone dry, then here comes everybody trying to get the inside scoop. Shit is annoying. That's it. Jimmy, let's get this. And put a money emoji, money bag emoji, and a bro fist. So he's trying to make the best of the situation, but don't be shocked if Davante Adams requests a trade. I don't think he'll get granted a trade, but Davante Adams was clearly pissed when it originally happened, and he tries to make the best of it right here. Trading Darren Waller away, look, this is going to irk Davante Adams beyond belief. He loses his best friend Derek Carr.
How does this help Barkley?
He loses his best friend Derek Carr. He loses his quarterback Derek Carr. Those are two losses to him. That's not one and the same. He lost his best friend. He also lost his quarterback that he loved, that he trusted, that fed him the football to the tune of 100 receptions, 1,600 yards, and 14 touchdowns. A lot of production going to Davante Adams. That's all out the window. Now he gets Darren Waller taken off the team. Now he's getting more defensive attention. Davante Adams is going to lose it again. As for Barkley, I think Darren Waller helps Barkley tremendously because now Barkley's not the sole focus of a defense. You got Darren Waller out there scrambling around. He's got to stay healthy. He's an older guy. He had a breakout, a very old breakout because he had some early troubles in his career and battled some things and some demons. And so Darren Waller got his life straight and got a late jump on his career. So he's an older player. But he's got to stay healthy. But this is phenomenal for Darren Waller, phenomenal for everybody involved in New York, every fantasy player from the wide receiver room, which I think they're going to obviously add to Hodgins. I love Hodgins a lot. Now Darren Waller kind of keeps defensive attention, and Hodgins could have a breakout season. I love Hodgins. Let's go to Hob G real quick because he's been waiting, and then Ron Navy's on the phone too. Hob G.
Yo, I'm happy.
What's up, buddy?
What up, man? I'm happy about this move.
Yeah, I mean, he went from George Kittle under Jimmy G, which was a non-existent tight end that couldn't even run a route because Jimmy G's either sacked or throwing the ball already or throwing the ball away. So Waller goes to a Dable situation where Dable's going to turn him into a gold mine if he can keep him healthy. I love it. Darren Waller got saved. Darren Waller got saved. Hob G, hang right there. Ron Navy, how high does Darren Waller's ADP soar on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. When we get into our live draft tonight on Underdog, make sure you guys click this link now. If you want to get in on the Underdog draft tonight, you gotta sign up ahead of time. The draft goes really, really quick. I dropped that. The link's in the description. I dropped it in the live chat right now. Ron Navy, and guys, this is not true yet. This Aaron Rodgers has been traded. This is preparation. Okay. So I'm sorry that keeps popping up. I've got that prepped for when it happens. So he has not been traded yet. Ron Navy, where does Darren Waller go? Or what's the ADP bump? Half a round, 2 rounds? Where does Waller go on Underdog now?
He probably jumps up a round or 2, I'm guessing. But I want to go back because I know you had concerns about Waller even before he was. So, I mean, what do you think now? I mean, because you were thinking he had too much other things going on in his life before you made that comment. So, I think it's a good thing that he's going to it's a better deal. I mean, better situation for him. But how do you think now with him? Because you stated before, he had all that background stuff going on, and you thought that was going to be too distracting for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's had trouble staying healthy. I think a change of scenery could be good for him. Do I still have concern of players that have like 10,000 things going on like in their life on the side? Yeah. Sometimes it especially when you're having trouble staying healthy and on the field. Like when Juju was struggling, there's so much like distraction going on, behind the scenes with Juju. And like he had so much talent, but it didn't come to fruition because he wasn't focused. And I'm not saying Darren Waller isn't focused, but he's got a lot going on in his personal life. In terms of like he's got all kinds of he's got the music, he's got all that stuff. And I'm not saying he can't multitask, but when you have a problem staying healthy, I feel like you should be focused on football. All that stuff can come, all that stuff can come. Your window's very small to play at the NFL level. So Darren Waller should focus and try and keep himself on the field. He's got a couple of years left because he's an older player. But I think, in general, I was mixing that with the situation, because his situation wasn't good. But now that the situation is good, I don't know. Maybe he can balance it all. Maybe he refocuses. Maybe Dable gets the most out of him. I just don't think players are motivated in Las Vegas. And so it's probably pretty easy to get distracted, sidetracked, and not be working hard, not giving it your 100%.
Yeah, if I was a player, why would you be motivated in Vegas? I mean, they're like a dumpster fire. They're the new Denver Broncos from last year. You know what I'm saying?
They're awful.
Like dismantling. It's going to be interesting. Who finishes worse, the Raiders or the Rams this next year?
The Raiders. I think the Rams at least still have some talent. They still got Cooper Kupp. They still got Stafford's still going to do okay unless they get rid of Stafford. Glenn says right here, Jimmy G will provide a better culture inside the locker room. How? Because the Niners had a good culture. Like how much of that was Jimmy G? How much of that was the other players as well? Jimmy G's he's not going to do any. Like, look, I think what you don't get is that the Raiders are like weeds. You're not getting rid of them. Like, there's no changing the culture of the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a negative black hole, a pit, like a bottomless pit. And this is where players go to die. This is where Randy Moss went, and we literally thought Randy Moss was done. We literally thought Randy Moss was like finished because he had a horrible season. He barely got 1,000 yards his first year in Oakland. Then he got it was like 500 or 400 or 600 yards. And then we're like, he's done. He goes to the Patriots and has 23 touchdowns. This is a horrible situation. Antonio Brown went to the Raiders and burned his feet off. It's an absolute disaster fest. And let's see here. Okay, so Glenn, appreciate that though, Glenn. I understand. The culture won't be good when they lose games, and that's part of the problem. There's no culture at all there. It's nothing but losing. There's another comment.
Turn him into a Knox?
Did I what?
Do you think he can turn him into another Dawson Knox?
Yeah, I think Dable works numbers with them. Yeah.
What would you think about they're going to Cincinnati? I think that'd be a great.
Well, yeah. I mean, Dalton Schultz, I think, is going to Cincinnati.
Take both of them. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, though. Cincinnati, I think they definitely took a step back. They lost both of their safeties. They're big safeties that basically they're saying, you know, those safeties were key to, you know, beating the Bills and beating, you know, Kansas City and stopping Mahomes. And so they took a step back defensively. I don't know what they're going to do with their defense because they got worse with losing both Bell and
Bates.
yeah.
Jim says, Smitty, you're saying the Raiders have no talent. When did I say that? I'm saying the Raiders have no quarterback. I'm saying the Raiders, who had the leading rusher in the NFL last year, are not going to have the leading rusher in the NFL this year because he's going to see 8-man fronts constantly. I'm saying Davante Adams doesn't have anybody to throw him the football, Jim. I'm saying that this team very much looks like what the Niners were with Jimmy G. All these weapons, and you can't utilize them because Jimmy G doesn't know how to play football. And this whole, he's a amazing locker room guy. Who cares about, not that I even agree with that, because Jimmy G's snarky smile at the podium when he throws 4 interceptions or loses a game, and he's up there grinning. You know, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe some of the players like him. Where? In San Francisco. That's a whole different, like, conversation. He's going to a new team where there's a losing mentality, and it's a disaster waiting to happen. There's no there's no ability to utilize the weapons. There's no facilitator. Jimmy G's not a facilitator. So, like, yeah, I'm not saying that at all, Jim. There's a ton of talent, but it's going to go unused. It's going to go untapped. Just like Kittle, just like Ayuk, just like to a degree, Deebo Samuel's receiving role. And so what did they do? They tweaked the offense. They created a wide back role to mask and hide Jimmy's deficiencies. And they said, no, I'm not Jimmy G, not giving Deebo Samuel this production. Deebo Samuel is taking the production for himself and taking the football downfield himself from the line of scrimmage. That wasn't Jimmy G and Deebo playing catch. That was Jimmy G saying, here, take the ball, do something with it. And it was Shanahan's design. Jimmy G had nothing to do with Deebo Samuel. He had nothing to do. You could have put Mike White in there. You could have put Brissett in there. You could have put Minshew in there. You could have put anybody you wanted in there under center and did the same thing. Deebo here. Deebo here. None of that was Jimmy G. Jimmy G didn't add any talent or ability to that Deebo Samuel breakout season. It had nothing to do with Jimmy G. All you have to do is throw a 5 or 6 yard pass across your body. Boom. Deebo, take it. Deebo, take it. Here, Deebo, I'm going to pitch it to you. Deebo, I'm going to hand it to you. Deebo, save me. Deebo, save me. This whole defending Jimmy G. Here's this one. Jimmy is what is this? I mean, I know these are all Niner fans that do comment positively on Jimmy G, but new Noah, Jimmy G is a leader of men. What is this? What are you watching that I'm not watching? What are you talking about? A leader of men? What are you talking about?
I agree with that.
Jimmy G, I don't think he's as bad as you said. I think Jimmy G is, now he's injury prone more than Carr, but I don't see much difference between the two quarterbacks per se, but he's not going to be successful on the Raiders because, I mean, for whatever success he had with the 49ers, he had that great defense to back him. He has no defense this time, and Jimmy G's not the type of guy that's going to bring you back from you know, the defense giving up many points during the game. He's not that type of quarterback.
So I'll challenge that. Derek Carr does have a better deep ball than Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jimmy G doesn't have one.
I mean, he has a medium route, but that's about it.
Yeah, I just don't see it. This one right here.
I didn't say I like Carr better than Jimmy G. I do, but they're similar, and it's really not an upgrade. When you get rid of somebody like Carr, then you think that, okay, we're going to make a big splash on an upgrade at quarterback, and they made no upgrade at quarterback.
I'll say this, Jimmy. I agree with Austin. Jimmy G, at best, is the 29th best quarterback in the National Football League. We're talking.
I'll give him top 15.
We're talking about bottom of the barrel. We're talking about Brissett and Minshew and Wentz trying to find a job. And in my opinion,
What do you think of Heineke going to the Falcons?
I like Heineke more than I like Jimmy G. Honestly,
No.
Yes.
Is that why they're out of the Lamar sweepstakes, you think?
I think the reason the Falcons might be out of the Lamar sweepstakes is because they don't want to be left without quarterbacks, and there's no back channel access to Lamar because he doesn't have an agent. But quite honestly, I still think it's a possibility that teams that are investing in, let's say, Heineke or whatever, could still look into it. I feel like Lamar turning down that $133 million 3-year deal was ridiculous. I think he could get more potentially. It's possible. Let me see if I can find this tweet again. But Lamar Jackson reportedly was offered, and he balked at it. He was offered a $133 million 3-year deal, fully guaranteed, and yet he's complaining.
I'm watching that right now.
And yet he's
yeah,
complaining.
But that's still behind five other.
And he
five
said,
or
and
six
people
other-
think I need an agent.
Well, but what I'm saying is they're on track with it at least. But if you want to say that, he says that they're $100 million in guaranteed money off. That's what he's been saying, the narrative he's been painting. If this is the offer, and this is coming from his own mouth, this is on par with that. This is cut down to a 3-year deal, though. So naturally, it's not going to be $230 guaranteed. It's $130 guaranteed on 3 years. And what this probably is a bigger offer that they said, hey, we'll give you a 5-year deal, 200 and whatever million, 250 million, 300 million, but 133 of it guaranteed. And he's like, no way, I want 230 guaranteed. And they probably said, well, you know what? If you're worried about not getting the fully guaranteed contract, let's cut that offer down to the guaranteed portion. What we're essentially saying, Lamar, is $133 million guaranteed on 3 years. Then you re-sign and re-up with us in 2 years because we want you so bad. You're amazing, right? You do so good in 2 years. We're going to re-up you before that 3rd year. Lamar could have asked for a no ability to get franchise tagged. He could have done a whole lot of tweaking to that. But Lamar Jackson turning down a $133 million guaranteed deal on 3 years, that's very much in line with what how he's talked about his contract and his outlook on where he wants to play. And he said that he could see himself being a franchise tag for 2 or 3 years. He said this about a year ago. I wouldn't mind being tagged 2 or 3 years in a row and then coming in and signing my big deal. So like if he likes the flexibility of not being locked into a 10-year deal, a 7-year deal, this is exactly what you would want to offer someone. Now, could it be tweaked a little bit? Because this is what, $44.33 million a year. 133 divided by 3 is 44.33. Could it be 47? Would the Ravens move it to 47? Probably. But I don't know that they want to do more than 3 years guaranteed on a fully guaranteed deal, which I can understand the Ravens side. So we'll see. Lamar not having an agent is the reason why a lot of this is going to potentially not go the way Lamar wants it to go, or as fast as Lamar wants it to go. It's ridiculous to not have an agent. There's so many back channel advantages to an agent who can make these determinations as to how to leak this, how to get this team to talk about you this way. There's so much like manipulation involved with agents and teams. And Lamar's got nothing. He can't do any of that. He can't participate in any of that. So that's why a lot of teams will be out. The Falcons are like, we need a quarterback. What if we can't wait on Lamar? What if he rejects our offer? What if he's being ridiculous? Heineke's going to be gone. Let's just scoop Heineke up now. Now the Falcons are out. Not because there's a conspiracy amongst owners, but because Lamar Jackson crapped the bed. He got in his own way. So that's going to be some of the reason why these teams drop off is they're scared all these quarterbacks are going to get scooped up. Just like the Jets are people are worried about what the Jets are going to do if Aaron Rodgers doesn't actually decide he wants to go to the New York Jets. The Jets are putting all their eggs in one basket, and a lot of other teams would be too scared to do that. And so they're going to say, we're out because you're not ready. We're going to grab this quarterback like Jimmy G. The Raiders not waiting for Lamar Jackson when they're in supposed win now mode is ridiculous. You're better off not having a single good quarterback and rebuilding if you miss on Lamar than to go down this, okay, let's preemptively take Jimmy G, get out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes because we can't really wait on that. We might miss Jimmy G. Who cares if you miss Jimmy G? This is a ridiculous move by the Raiders. They should have acquired Lamar Jackson. It was one of the best fits. And Lamar, frankly, would have gone there versus going back to Baltimore. I know it wouldn't be his first choice, but if he got slapped down an offer sheet from the Raiders that was big money and he didn't initially want to go there, he would take it, I think, to get out of this situation where he's going to feel like he's going to get like controlled and not able to do what he wants in Baltimore. So I don't know.
Yeah, everybody's excited about Aaron going to the Jets, but the Jets have kind of screwed themselves, I think, a little bit. Even if Aaron Rodgers, okay, let's say he comes out and the deal's done and he goes there, right? What do they got if something? Aaron Rodgers is an older quarterback. I mean, he could be injury prone. He's older. He's more frail. If he goes down, who do they got? They're back to Zach Wilson, and that's no bueno there. I mean, their season stops. If something happens to Rodgers, they don't have a good backup quarterback.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't have gotten rid of White. I would have kept White.
Well, White wanted to be in a position to potentially start for the long term for his team, and I think that's the assurance White has, that Tua is probably not a long term option given his concussion concerns. So White's like, this is a great opportunity. I don't think White would have went back to New York. But to counterpoint what you're saying, that's the same. You'd have the same concern even if they brought in Carr, even if they brought in another quarterback. If that quarterback went down, what would you have? I don't think that worrying about Aaron Rodgers getting hurt this year is any different than worrying about any quarterback that they bring in, that they start. I think ultimately what your valid point would be, hey, if Aaron Rodgers only stays for 1 year, they're back to square one in 2024. But I don't think that's that big of a deal because there will be potential moves for quarterback, for acquiring aggressively acquiring a quarterback in 2024. Or potentially moving up in the draft and getting a young quarterback. Or maybe they do something creative in this draft even. But I would rather take the shot at a 1, maybe 2 year window with Rodgers because he's not guaranteed to play one. He's made assumptions, or he's alluded to, 1 year. Like when he was talking to Brandon Marshall, and Brandon Marshall said he's a Bears like legend. And he's like, Bears legend, or a Jets legend. He's like, you were with the Bears. And he's like, I don't think, that makes you a Jet legend. And he's like, no, he's like, you're something about you're going to be a Jet legend. And he's like, you can't be a Jet legend after 1 year. So Aaron Rodgers has made little comments that make me think it is 1 year for sure at a time. I don't think he's going to, and he's the kind of guy that's going to say it shoot from the hip, whether you like him or not. He's going to say, I'm not giving you any assurances about 2024. I'm sure he's told him that. But there's still a shot he comes back in 2024. So you might get 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers, and you for sure have the best opportunity to win a Super Bowl the next 5 years by just going this route and trying to figure out 2024 and 2024. I would do it. I don't think they screwed themselves at all. I personally love the Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets situation. It makes everybody there so much better. And it also matures Garrett Wilson, matures Breece Hall, matures the offense, matures the defense. Even if it's 1 year, they can make a very aggressive move if they want and go just like they are doing with Aaron Rodgers. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a really good move.
He's 39 years old, though. So just because, his age alone makes him more susceptible to injury. And the fact that you saw him last year when he was playing last year, you saw him in games almost like giving up in the game. And you've never seen him like that. I have never seen him like that prior to too much, where he just you could just see the fight in him went out. And it wasn't just one game, it was several games where he just kind of gave up. And so if that Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, and if he doesn't have immediate success, then is he going to pull the same type of stuff where he's just going to be like, I give up. I'm gone. I'm retired after this year.
I see your point. I see your point, but I just think he's going to have a great year. I I'm not going to worry about whether he has a bad year or not, and then try and focus on what his attitude is going to be like if that happens. I think Aaron Rodgers is a baller. I think he gets a bad rap. I always defend Aaron Rodgers more than anybody, but I do agree he drags things out, but I think he doesn't care. He's not – everyone else is focusing on him, and I understand that, but we don't know the conversations he's had with the Jets in the back room. You know, there's been a wish list that's been given. You don't give a wish list if you don't decide to show up. You don't tell someone, go get me ingredients to bake a cake, and then you don't show up to bake the cake. So we don't really know. Everybody says that he's keeping the Jets waiting. Everybody's on pins and needles. The Jets are going all in, all their eggs in one basket, and they're running the risk of destroying the franchise because what if he doesn't return? We have no idea what the brass, when they flew out, and Trey Wingo's already said it's done. And Trey Wingo, I believe Trey Wingo over Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport on this because Trey Wingo's had the inside track on the Aaron Rodgers stuff from the beginning. He clearly has somebody very, very close to the situation that Ian Rappaport and Schefter don't have, and that's why Rappaport's so bitter, and you can see it all over his face whenever it's brought up that, is it a done deal? He's like, no, it's not done. He's so upset that Trey Wingo has a leg up on the biggest story that's happened in years and years and years. Schefter is so bent out of shape, you can read it all over his face. But Wingo already knows that it's done, and I believe him. And I think that everybody assuming and just making up stuff about Aaron Rodgers. He's doing this. He's dragging this out. They're dragging it out for what reason, I don't know. And maybe he just wanted to wait until today, late in the day. And he said that from the beginning. He's just sticking to what the time frame he put, no matter what the reaction is. And the Jets are just going, this is looking out of control, but it's not. And the early word I had earlier today, even Schefter said, or it was Rappaport, said that everything he's hearing is that the Jets are not worried and they don't feel like anything is off track with it. It's going to announce very, very soon. I'm almost positive. But I love Aaron Rodgers.
Everybody thought it was going to be on the McAfee show, and it wasn't because, A.J. Hawk is on there and he's close to Aaron Rodgers. So, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, he wasn't scheduled to go on today, so that they even said that they're not going to pressure him. They're just going to let this happen. I mean, this is a weird day to go on and talk about it if he was going to have it announced a certain way. But real quickly, Rashad Penny on a 1 year. Let's see here. Is it a 1 year deal? Averaging over 6 carries per game. Rashad Penny to the Eagles. I'm not buying into Penny. Maybe he stays healthy. He had a good season with the Seahawks, but I don't know that Penny's going to stay healthy. He's struggled with injuries his whole career. So I still think that the Eagles will be looking to maybe acquire a Henry or maybe they take Gibbs at 30 overall. They still might go after Bijan. This doesn't feel like a starter move. This is just a potential get a running back in the running back room. This is a depth piece. I mean, maybe they try him out as a starter. You never know. But I don't think it's a good move if they're relying on Penny. I think Bijan or Gibbs is the best move. I think Henry or Chubb or Cook or any of these RBs that are potentially on the move, these old dogs that are going to be on the move for a second round pick potentially, those are good moves as well for the Eagles. But we should have news soon on Rodgers. I know not everybody agrees on it, and I get that, and that's cool. That's what makes fantasy football. It's what makes fantasy football fun. I know a lot of people are critical of Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people don't understand the move from a long-term perspective, but I mean, give the Jets a shot at a Super Bowl, and I believe they will fully be in position to fight for a Super Bowl, shot. I'm not saying they'll win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying this is a Super Bowl caliber team with Aaron Rodgers under center, in my opinion. Could it unravel? Could there be some friction? May he not adjust well to a new system? I don't know. But look, there's so many pieces in place. This is happening. Like you've got Hackett there. That was why did they bring him in? Like, why? After what he did in Denver, why on earth would you bring Hackett in unless it was what Aaron Rodgers wanted? Why would Randall Cobb Lazard be in the works right now if Aaron Rodgers was not coming? It's all in motion. It's gonna happen. I don't think the Jets are at risk of ruining their franchise like a lot of people say. Kilpatrick, you're on the phone with Ron Navy. DeBruce, what can we do for you?
What's going on, boys?
What's up?
I just wanted to just wanted to touch base with y'all about the, Darren Waller trade. Like, I'm from New York. I'm a New York Giants fan. And I haven't been feeling so great about them in the past couple of years. Wasn't so sure about Joe Judge. Glad that didn't work out. Very happy with Dable. He's really turning this whole team around.
Yes, he is.
Very happy. My only like thing with them in this offseason was them not going after, Lamar Jackson when, I didn't understand when they were offering Daniel Jones the money, but, Daniel Jones didn't look like awful last year. He looked serviceable. I just don't feel like super confident with them, but being that they got it like a couple, like maybe one good wide receiver for now. They got Waller, they got Saquon back, Daniel Jones is signed, Dable's in the mix. I really think they need to get a wide receiver one. I'm wondering what you think. Chances are that D-Hop actually lands with the Giants. I think
definitely.
That would be a good move for them.
Definitely possible, especially at the cost of entry. And Dable is obviously doing aggressive things. They're trying to really, basically, what you gotta think about is that Dable was in a box. Like he has no other quarterback option. Lamar was potentially on the table for him, but he was looking at this from the perspective of, if I let Danny Dimes go, we could be without any quarterback at all. And I know that I've cultivated this guy in a way that we can win games and we can be a very competitive team. And maybe I could turn him into a top 10 quarterback, like 10 to 12, 11 to 14, somewhere around there. And you can win a Super Bowl with a quarterback in that territory, like a Derek Carr, Danny Dimes, if you've got defense, if you've got a running game, if you've got all these different components in place. And so I think what he's thinking to himself is, okay, I may not have the best quarterback. I may have overpaid for my quarterback. But if we surround him with the right players, and I think they're not done yet, I think either they draft, either if they have to trade up, draft one of these big four wide receivers. Zay Flowers could even fall. Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Addison, or potentially Jackson Smith and Jigba, or you use their first round pick on a defensive piece, whatever, offensive piece, offensive line, whatever, and then you trade a second round or a couple third round picks for DeAndre Hopkins, and then you have yourself your wide receiver. If you had Hopkins, Waller, Barkley, Danny Dimes, and you still can use your first round pick on something, that's a really, really good offseason. Like that's up there with the Chicago Bears in terms of deploying offensive or offseason moves. Like that would be unbelievable. I think Hopkins could still go to, unfortunately, the Patriots. That would be a disaster for him. New York would be fantastic for him. Chicago would be unreal because he's so good with mobile quarterbacks. DeAndre Hopkins, he made his living catching footballs from Watson and Kyler. So he's got a couple places he could go. There's a few more, but I think the Giants are a top 3 landing spot for Hopkins for sure. But they still could draft a rookie instead. But we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we get Zay Flowers, that would be ecstatic, or even Quentin Johnson or any of the other rookie wide receivers. But it's just so crazy to look at this situation unfold. A couple of years ago, the Bears were like, oh my God, just a desecrated franchise. The future looked terrible. The Jets a few years ago too, it was kind of shaky, and the Giants as well. I mean, I remember going to the game when Daniel Jones he was out, he was injured, and it was the backup. It was Jake Fromm, and it was the Redskins they were playing. It was just atrocious. It was just terrible, and now it's like you have some optimism for the future. I mean, I'm
Definitely.
happy for the Jets. I hope they get A-Rod, but in reference to him, it's like, to bring over, you were talking about it before, to bring over, Randall Cobb and Lazard, like, that doesn't, Elijah Moore is amazing. I think he's a great wide receiver. And again, we don't know what's going on behind the curtain. I don't know if he's doing something, but to lose favor, but it's like, it's such a slap in the face kind of to Elijah Moore, I feel like. And
yeah, I do feel, I have admitted that. I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I said, other than I defend Aaron Rodgers in most everything, but I do think this young leadership in New York, led by Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson, you know, they were so excited to talk about bringing A-Rod over. They're so excited to burn the cheesehead. And I think, to hear, he's coming. Great. Open arms. We want you to be our leader. We're almost electing you to take over the leadership role that we're currently holding because we want somebody that knows a little more to come in and be our leader. But then to all of a sudden be told I'm bringing in my own guys like that is a little bit of a I think a negative vibe. But at the same time, it's like I don't think they get all of them. I think they bring in one, and to the defense of Aaron Rodgers or even the team, we don't know, like you said, what's happened behind closed doors. Is it possible that Elijah Moore has dropped the ball, not literally, but in terms of practices and attitude and different things? There's got to be a reason he fell out of favor. Even when Mike White got back under center for a portion of last year, Elijah Moore didn't resurge. So something else is going on there. I'm hopeful that he returns to some sort of prominence, under Aaron Rodgers. We'll have to see. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to have an Odell Beckham Jr. or a potential Lazard in there to help pick up the slack if Elijah Moore can't, grab a hold of that second wide receiver spot for whatever reason. It just wouldn't hurt to have 3 wide receivers. So I don't think it's that crazy. If he brought 2 or 3 of them over, I'll be a little more concerned of how that's going to feel to the wide receivers already in that room. I agree. But I don't know. We'll have to see, but this is coming down soon. I have a feeling as soon as I get off and I go cook food, which I was about to do. I was in the kitchen. I was getting out the eggs and bacon. I was gonna make myself a little omelet, and boom, Darren Waller traded. Back to the studio.
Not that this is huge news, but they just reported Noah Brown signing with the Texans.
Yeah, I got that.
Dallas.
I got that somewhere here. Where is that? I think it's right here. So, Noah Brown, formerly of the Cowboys, signed with the Texans. I just haven't even been able to get to that one. There's a couple other pieces of news I'll get to on the Aaron Rodgers show. I think we're going to hear in the next couple hours, gentlemen. The next couple hours. A lot of people are going to hate on Aaron Rodgers, and I fully expect that, and I appreciate it, and I'm not mad at anybody that has a differing opinion. Differing opinions are amazing. But I'm excited for Garrett Wilson. Regardless of 2024 or what it means or the risks involved of, like you said, Ron, is him being older and was there some drop off or whatever, or motivation concerns or whatever. Regardless, Aaron Rodgers is the best shot for Garrett Wilson to be a top 5 wide receiver, maybe even top 4 wide receiver this year. Carr could have probably delivered a top 5 to 7 wide receiver season out of Garrett Wilson. But Aaron Rodgers could put him on the top 1 to 4 map. So ultra excited about that.
Absolutely.
And Breece Hall, man, this is one of those things where he's gonna be slightly limited. I think that we're gonna hear terms like he looks like he never even tore his ACL, and when we're in camp and all that, I think we'll firmly believe that. Just like I said, we hear that he's ahead of schedule. So once we hear that, we're going to feel really excited about Breece Hall. But what's most exciting is that regardless of what a player says or what people say, you're always going to be a little bit lesser that first year back because there's a severed connection between your brain and your knee, and you're just slower to talk to it because it's a reestablished brand new ACL. It's hard to explain, but when I tore my ACL, I'd literally be walking, and I know I'm not a professional athlete, but when I'm walking in a store and I'm like, I'm going to go that way, and I don't turn, and I keep walking, it was crazy. It was like, how's my brain? My brain's delayed. It's working a new connection to your knee. It's got to find a new pathway to say, hey, we're cutting left. And so that's not going to happen during a game where he's running and he doesn't cut. But I'm trying to say that there's a little delay and this explosion's not quite there yet. The beautiful part about Aaron Rodgers is defenses will say, let the ACL recovered player prove us wrong. We've got to focus on this other stuff. And so Breece Hall is probably going to have these wide open lanes so that this lack of explosion he might have in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about halfway through the season, he's just going to have these gaping holes. And so it's going to be phenomenal to watch Breece Hall get to recover and navigate in this new setting that's going to be very, very conducive for him to bounce back in a hardcore way. But Garrett Wilson to the moon, Brees Hall to the moon. It's all coming down. We'll cover it all once the news is announced. But I trust Trey Wingo, and I trust all these other things. The only thing that could pop in is some sort of life-altering moment where Aaron Rodgers decides to retire all of a sudden. That's the only thing that's standing in the way. But I don't get that sense that that's a problem. And everything I'm hearing is that the Jets aren't worried at all. And these wish lists and all these things, Hackett being there, the Cobb, the get this guy, none of those things would be in motion if it wasn't a done deal. I don't know the delay. Maybe we hear why there's a delay. I don't know what it is, but we're all assuming that it's nothing, that it's just Aaron Rodgers being a diva. And we don't really know. We don't know what the reason is. If we'll ever even hear about it, I don't know. But I don't know that it's just like Aaron Rodgers trying to be a diva. I think maybe he had his mindset that he was going to give himself until today for his own well-being, and it just so happens to piss everybody off, and it is inconveniencing the Jets in a way in participating in free agency, but they've also got if a guarantee's been given behind closed doors that he's coming, then they're not concerned, and they're not really losing out or missing out on anything.
Well, it could be, too, finalizing the money details, because they got to figure that out too. They got to, because he was owed $60 million, and so they got to reconfigure all that. They might be trying to come to terms with the money part of it.
And there's also in his contract a June 1 date that if Aaron Rodgers is actually physically traded before June 1, the Packers are on the hook for a full $40 million in a cap hit. And so if Aaron Rodgers is traded after June 1, the Green Bay Packers can spread that hit over multiple years. So there's also that contractual component that I think we'll hear about later. And like you said, Ron, that the money part, just those parts could be what's actually hanging it up. So everyone's blaming Aaron Rodgers, and we just don't fully know. So, and because they don't want to announce it yet, they can't, they can't like sit here and go, it's not Aaron's fault. Like no one's saying anything about anything. I'm sick to my stomach. My Raiders always find a way to disappoint. I feel bad for you, the owner, Sam. I do. And I want to make it very clear that I love my Raider fans. I love my fan bases from every team. I want you to know that. When I rip on an organization, I don't want you to think I'm ripping on the fan base. I feel very, very bad for Raiders fans. You guys are in a, and I want to give you false hope. You guys are going to be a disaster. I'm sorry. But Jimmy G is going to falter to an extreme degree. Either get hurt or he's going to look absolutely horrible. Sorry, Sam.
I'm feeling great about me and the Steeler fans because we just got better the last 2 days. We got Patrick Peterson. We just signed Burbig, big offensive line guy, about 370-some pounds. And that's going to open up some big holes for Najee. I actually, when they signed him, I actually got excited about Najee this coming year. I think that's a big old boy from the Jets.
Yeah. Giants to the moon. Yeah. Giants.
Huge, because those are two needs we needed: offensive line and Patrick Peterson, CB. Yep.
All right, boys.
We had Patrick Peterson in Minnesota.
I'm going to give you each a couple of seconds here. I got to go eat before the Aaron Rodgers news breaks. The Bruce, you got 10 seconds. Go.
Let's just see what the Giants do with this Waller. Let's see how he pans out in New York.
All right, Brucey. Appreciate you, man. Call back during the Aaron Rodgers show, okay?
Yep.
Hob G, let me give you a little more than 10 seconds. You've been so quiet there. Give me like what are you thinking? Give me a 30-second minute rant on whatever you want.
Nah, mine is quick and short. Smitty and Waller to the moon.
Appreciate you. You to the moon, pal.
To the moon.
All right, Hob G, call back during the Aaron Rodgers show, okay?
All right, no doubt. Peace. Y'all have a good one.
Later. Kilpatrick, you got 20 seconds. What do you need? What do you got? What do you know?
Jimmy G is a funnel, man, and I feel bad for the Raiders.
Yeah, I do. I feel bad for Raider fans, bro. He's a paper tiger.
Shit, man. Sad.
All right, Kilpatrick, call back during the Aaron Rodgers show. Later, pal.
I got it.
Ron Navy.
Yeah, well, I just pretty much said, but I'd really like to see Eckler go to Cincinnati, even though it'd be he'd be a key piece. But I'd rather him go there than Kansas City.
What about Buffalo? Eckler in Buffalo?
No. Buffalo ruins running backs. I
Well,
don't
but-
like any running back.
But would they really?
They utilize too many, and they can't stay with. They're kind of like New England in a way with their running backs. You can't really, they'll take turns being decent, but you can't trust any of them because you never know which ones will be used effectively.
But when have they had an elite running back? When's the last time in this context?
The last time would have been old boy that they got rid of to Big Nasty that they got rid of to Seattle. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about.
Lynch,
yeah. That would have been the last big one.
So, but my point, yeah, I know, but I mean, my point is they have rotated and haven't used them properly because they've been Zach Mosses and Devin Singletaries. Like, if they got Eckler, they would use him. I don't think they're going to put Eckler on the bench. You don't like him there?
I don't like there. I don't like the fit there. I'd rather see him on Cincinnati. I think he'd be great for Joe Burrow. And he'd be great he'd fit right in. That's an upgrade to McKinnon in Kansas City.
Bro, my mind just got blown. Dalvin Cook to play with his brother, James Cook, in Buffalo. What if
There you go.
What if that trade happened? Can you imagine them fighting for the starting job? Oh my God! I mean,
I guess Eckler ain't going to Buffalo.
Dalvin Cook, James Cook, brothers in that Buffalo backfield fighting, totally upset at each other, yelling at each other. Mama's in the stadium with a half jersey. One Cook on the other side, one Cook on the other side. Yeah, James Cook would take a backseat to his brother for as long as his brother could stay on the field.
Mom can wear the same jersey.
Yeah, just dye it one side, change the number on one side. That's crazy, bro. All right, hey, I'll be back when Aaron Rodgers breaks the news, which will probably be in like 2 minutes when I hang up.
Maybe.
All right, see you back here.
You're not today.
It could be like midnight. We'll hear about midnight, but
yeah.
All right, Ron, I'll see you back here. Call in during that show. Later, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, I'll see you all when Aaron Rodgers announces his news. I'm sorry I've shown my graphic ahead of time. I'm trying to prep for that show, but we'll be live. We'll be back live once. If Dalvin Cook to Miami, it's a thought. They did retain Mostert, but Mostert doesn't mean they're all out on running backs. But I'll see you all here when Aaron Rodgers news breaks officially. Come back. As soon as you hear the news, know that I'm going live. That's how I roll. Big O will be back for the Aaron Rodgers news, but you got 2 shows, 2-hour shows you can watch that I just did back to back. Appreciate you.
You know, Smitty, you're not hearing me. I don't know a lot about fantasy football. I know everything about fantasy football. Woo! You know.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Ron Navy dropping a $20 hauler on the way out the door. Sneaky little guy. It's time to make it rain. 30 bills per second. Jimmy rigged. We did it live. Appreciate you, Ron. Ron says, bam.